At 7:15 p.m. on a Tuesday in March 1978, Ray Whitmore parks his Dodge van outside a split-level house in Levittown, Pennsylvania. The porch light flicks on. A woman in her 40s opens the door before he knocks. "Thank God you're here," she says. "The kids are losing their minds." Whitmore is 34 years old. 5'9", thinning hair, wire-rimmed glasses that fog up in winter. He wears a company uniform, blue shirt with his name stitched above the pocket, gray work pants, steel-toed boots worn soft at the heels. In the back of his van, a wooden toolbox that weighs 47 pounds, 3 oscilloscopes, a vacuum tube tester, 17 cardboard boxes organized by component type, and a clipboard thick with service tickets. Tonight's call is routine. Sony Trinitron, 19-inch screen, picture rolling vertically. The woman leads him to the living room where her husband sits in a recliner, arms crossed. The TV sits on a wooden stand against the wall. Whitmore kneels in front of it. No hello. He opens the back panel with a screwdriver from his shirt pocket. "Before we begin, this is a story about 85,000 Americans who knew how to fix everything in your home, and then vanished in less than 15 years. If you care about forgotten professions and the skills we've lost, subscribe to The Last Who Knew USA. You won't find these stories anywhere else." The air smells like solder and dust. Inside the chassis, vacuum tubes glow orange in the dark. He touches the back of his hand to the horizontal output transformer. Hot. Very hot. He pulls the tube chart from his back pocket. A laminated card creased from 4 years of use. 6DQ6 tube. Likely blown. "How long's it been doing this?" he asks. 3 days, the husband says. "I called Saturday. You said Tuesday was the earliest." Whitmore doesn't respond. He pulls the 6DQ6 tube from its socket and walks to the van. Returns with a replacement. Slots it in. Turns on the set. The picture snaps into place. Steady. Clear. The Johnny Carson show fills the screen. "That's it?" the husband says. "That's it." "What do I owe you?" $12 for the service call, $4.50 for the tube. The man writes a check. Whitmore tears off a receipt from his pad, hands it over, packs his tools. 9 minutes, door to door. He has 4 more calls tonight. If he's lucky, he'll be home by midnight. This is what Ray Whitmore does. 5 days a week, sometimes 6. He fixes televisions in people's homes. In 1978, he averages 127 service calls per week. That's 508 televisions per month. He works for General Electric's authorized service network, one of 43 technicians covering the Philadelphia metro area. The business is booming. In 1978, there are 150 million television sets in America. The average household owns 1.7 TVs. When they break, and they always break, people call someone like Ray Whitmore. They don't throw the TV away. A 25-inch Zenith color console costs $629 in 1978. That's 2 weeks' salary for most families. You don't replace something that costs 2 weeks' salary because the picture rolls. You fix it. Whitmore learned television repair in the Navy. 6 years as an electronics technician, mostly on destroyers. When he got out in 1971, he answered an ad in the Philadelphia Inquirer. GE needed repair technicians. The pay was $4.75 per hour plus commission on parts. He'd make more money than most of his friends who went to college. The training took 8 weeks. Every day, 8 hours, in a warehouse in North Philadelphia. Rows of broken TVs lined up on workbenches. The instructor was a man named Frank Calabrese, 61 years old, who'd been fixing radios since 19. Calabrese didn't believe in theory. "You learn by doing," he said. "Break something, then fix it. Break it again." Whitmore broke a lot of things those first weeks. Blue transformers, fried circuit boards, shattered picture tubes, but Calabrese never got angry. He just handed Whitmore the schematic and said, "Figure out what you did wrong." By week 6, Whitmore could diagnose most problems in under 3 minutes. By week 8, he could rebuild a chassis from scratch. The job was simple in structure, complex in execution. Every morning, Whitmore reported to the service center at 6:30 a.m. The dispatcher handed him a stack of service tickets, addresses, phone numbers, problem descriptions. No picture. Horizontal lines. Loud buzzing sound. Whitmore plotted his route on a street map, loaded his van, and hit the road. The first year, he worked a territory covering 15 zip codes in northeast Philadelphia. Later, they expanded his range. By 1978, he covered 42 zip codes, from Ben Salem to Camden. He drove 340 miles on a typical day. Most repairs took between 8 and 20 minutes. The problems were predictable: blown tubes, failed capacitors, loose solder joints, dirty tuner contacts, occasionally something more complex: a shorted flyback transformer, a dying yoke, a cracked circuit board that needed rewiring. Those jobs took longer. Sometimes he'd pull the entire chassis, bring it back to the shop, work on it overnight. The trick was diagnosis. You didn't guess. Guessing wasted time and money. You followed a logical sequence. Check the tube filaments. Test the high voltage. Measure the B+ supply. Inspect for obvious damage. Burned components, swollen capacitors, cracked solder. Work from the power supply forward. Eliminate variables. Whitmore carried a 3-ring binder in his van. 200 pages of schematics organized by manufacturer and model number. RCA, Zenith, Motorola, Magnavox, Sony, Panasonic. He'd added his own notes in the margins. Common failure points, voltage measurements, replacement part numbers. When he encountered a new model, he ordered the schematic from the manufacturer. Cost 35 cents, worth every penny. The customers were mostly polite. Grateful. Television was how they stayed connected to the world. When it broke, they felt cut off. Anxious. Whitmore understood this. He moved quickly but didn't rush. He explained what went wrong in simple terms. This tube controls the picture height. It wore out. Normal wear and tear. I replaced it. People appreciated clarity. Some customers wanted to watch. They stood behind him asking questions. What's that do? Why did it break? Can I prevent this? Whitmore answered without looking up. The questions didn't bother him. People wanted to understand the machines in their homes. He respected that. Others just wanted it fixed. They left the room, came back when he was packing up, handed him payment, cash or check, and went back to their evening. That was fine too. The hardest calls were the ones where the TV wasn't worth fixing. A 1969 portable with a dying picture tube. A console with a burned main board. He'd run the numbers in his head, labor plus parts, and tell the customer the truth. It'll cost $140 to repair. You can buy a new set for $180. Sometimes they insisted anyway, just fix it. So he did. By 1980, something changed. The first sign was the parts. Whitmore ordered components through GE's supply chain. In early 1980, delivery times started stretching. A transformer that used to arrive in 3 days now took 2 weeks. Some parts became impossible to find. Obsolete. Manufacturers discontinued them without notice. The second sign was the TVs themselves. In 1981, GE released a new line of television sets. Smaller, lighter, cheaper. The chassis was different. Instead of discrete components, individual transistors, capacitors, resistors, the new sets used integrated circuits, black plastic rectangles with dozens of tiny pins. When an IC failed, you couldn't repair it. You replaced it, and the ICs cost as much as a new TV. The third sign was the price. In 1981, a 19-inch color TV sold for $299. 2 years earlier, the same size cost $480. The price kept dropping. By 1984, you could buy a 19-inch set for $189. When repair costs more than replacement, people stop repairing. Whitmore saw it in the service tickets. In 1979, he averaged 127 calls per week. In 1982, he averaged 93. In 1984, 64. The phone rang less. The warehouse stockroom carried fewer parts. 2 of the other technicians quit. GE didn't replace them. The jobs that remained changed character. Older sets, high-end consoles, big screens that still cost serious money. But even those customers started asking different questions. Is this really worth fixing? How much longer will it last? Maybe we should just get a new one. In March 1985, GE called a meeting. All the remaining technicians, 26, down from 43. The regional manager stood at the front of the room. "The home service model isn't sustainable," he said. "We're transitioning to depot repair. Customers will drop off their sets. We'll fix them at the center." Whitmore raised his hand. "What about the people who can't transport a TV? They'll buy a new one." The depot model lasted 2 years. Most customers didn't want to disconnect their TV, load it in a car, drop it off, wait a week, pick it up, reconnect it. Easier to go to Sears, buy a new set, have it delivered. In 1987, GE closed the Philadelphia Repair Center. Whitmore got 2 weeks' notice. Severance pay calculated at 1 week per year of service. 16 weeks. 4 months. He applied at other shops. Independent repair businesses run out of garages and strip mall storefronts. But those were closing too. One owner told him the truth. "I fixed 18 TVs last month. 3 years ago, I fixed 200. The math doesn't work anymore." Whitmore tried a career change. Got hired at a factory making automotive parts, wiring harnesses for Ford trucks. The pay was okay. The work was mindless. He lasted 14 months. In 1989, he started his own business, Ray's Electronics Repair. He rented a small space in a shopping center, put an ad in the Penny Saver. He'd fix anything electronic: TVs, VCRs, stereos, microwaves. Maybe enough people still cared about repair to keep him afloat. The first month, he had 47 customers. Not great, but survivable. The second month, 31. By the 6th month, he was down to 12 jobs. Most were VCR repairs. The profit margin was tiny. He closed the shop in May 9. What happened to Ray Whitmore happened to hundreds of thousands of repair technicians across America. The industry didn't just shrink, it evaporated. In 1978, there were an estimated 85,000 television repair technicians working in the United States. By 1995, fewer than 8,000 remained. Most worked for manufacturers, fixing high-end equipment under warranty. The neighborhood TV repairman was extinct. The reason was economic. Manufacturing technology improved. Production moved overseas. Labor costs dropped. TVs became commodities. In 1970, the average American worker had to work 174 hours to afford a 25-inch color TV. In 2000, they had to work 23 hours. When something is cheap to replace and expensive to repair, repair becomes irrational. Whitmore understood this intellectually, but emotionally, it felt like waste. He thought about the thousands of televisions he'd fixed, devices that could have lasted another 5, 10, 15 years with basic maintenance. Instead, they went to landfills. He thought about the knowledge he'd accumulated. 17 years of diagnostic experience, the ability to read a schematic and visualize current flow, the tactile skill of soldering a joint that would last decades, the patience to trace a fault through a complex circuit, all of it obsolete. In 1992, Whitmore got a job as a maintenance technician at a hospital. He fixed medical equipment, monitors, pumps, diagnostic machines. The work was steadier. The pay was better. But it wasn't the same. Medical equipment was designed to be repaired. Manufacturers supported it. Parts were available. Service manuals were detailed. It reminded him of what television repair used to be. He retired in 2006, 73 years old. His toolbox from the GE days sat in his garage. He opened it once a year, looked at the tubes and meters and wire strippers, then closed it again. Ray Whitmore died in 2018. His obituary mentioned his Navy service and his 40-year career in electronics. It didn't mention that he'd fixed over 75,000 television sets in people's living rooms, that he could diagnose a horizontal oscillator failure from across a room just by listening to the flyback transformer, that he represented the last generation of technicians who treated consumer electronics as repairable rather than disposable. When his children cleaned out his house, they found his service records. Box after box of carbon copy receipts, handwritten on triplicate forms. Names, addresses, model numbers, problems, solutions. Tens of thousands of transactions. A map of Northeast Philadelphia, 1971 to 1987, traced in $12 service calls. They threw the boxes away. No one knew what else to do with them. The van he drove for GE was sold at auction in 1988. It went to a plumbing contractor. The toolbox stayed with Ray. His oscilloscopes ended up at an estate sale. The tube tester went to a collector who paid $40 for it. The skills died with the men who held them. Today, when a television breaks, you check the warranty. If it's still covered, you contact the manufacturer. They send a replacement or offer a discount on a new model. If the warranty expired, you research new TVs online. You compare prices, you order. It arrives in 2 days. No one comes to your house with a toolbox. No one kneels in front of your TV and replaces a tube while you watch. No one hands you a receipt for $16.50 and says, "Should last another 2 years easy." The economics make sense. A 43-inch 4K TV costs $279 in 2026. Less than Ray Whitmore charged for a service call in 1985, adjusted for inflation. Repair is impossible. The components are sealed. The schematics are proprietary. The parts aren't sold individually. But something was lost in the transaction. Ray Whitmore knew how televisions worked. Voltage, current, electromagnetic deflection, cathode ray tubes, electron guns, shadow masks. He could explain it to a 10-year-old or a PhD. He understood the technology he serviced not as a black box, but as a system of knowable, fixable components. When you know how something works, you treat it differently. You maintain it. You don't discard it at the first sign of trouble. You fix it because fixing is possible. For 17 years, Ray Whitmore fixed 500 televisions per month. In your living room. Then TVs became disposable, and Ray Whitmore became unnecessary. Ray Whitmore's story is just one of hundreds. Telegraph operators, switchboard operators, ice cutters, lamplighters, all gone, all forgotten. If you want to see who else knew how to do things we can't do anymore, subscribe and turn on notifications.